Hey everybody, welcome back to another fun and exciting Algebra 1 video. Today's lesson we'll be talking about the point-slope formula, and that is found on page 108 in your book. That's lesson 3.6. So maybe you're thinking, oh man, this chapter is all about formulas and points and slopes and graphs and exactly. And so it's kind of one of those things that just keeps building on top of each other. Okay. So now that we know what slope is, and now we know what points on the graph are, and now we know how to work formulas, we're going to kind of put all that together into one little thing here. So go ahead and look in your book, again, page 108, and we'll talk about point-slope formula. So when the slope of and the y-intercept of a line are known, substituting those values into the equation for slope-intercept form gives you y equals mx plus b. That's what we did in a couple lessons ago. Well, sometimes the y-intercept is not known. Sometimes we just know a different point. We can still do it with a different point by kind of manipulating, changing that formula. So if you look over here, you see how they've changed this formula. This is looking for slope here with this information. They move things around. I'm not going to go through the whole delineation of this formula, but if you kind of look through it, you should be able to see you have a lot of the same information. You have the y1s, you have the m's, you have the m is the slope, so you have the points and all kinds of different things. It's very similar to your slope formula that we've already learned. So by changing this just a little bit into what's called the point-slope formula, we can then figure this out with only knowing any random point and the slope of the line. All right, so let's go ahead and turn the page over, page 109. All right, let's do some of these together. First of all, let's focus on what we're looking at. We are looking at the point-slope formula, and here it is. Y minus y1 equals m, which is slope, times x minus x1. What is x1 and y1? Well, that's the point that we know. That's the point that they give us. That's the point that maybe is on the graph, whatever it is. That's the point that we have. Okay, so now all we want to do is plug into that. So if you look at page 109, they give you the slope is 4. All right, and then they give you that the point is 2 comma 5. So you just want to plug into that. So what is that formula again? Well, let's go through it. So hopefully you can remember it. You write it down. Remember, if I'm writing on the screen, you should be writing in your notebook or on your paper. So we want y minus y1, okay, equals m times x minus x1. That's our formula. That's what we're going to use for this. This is our information. This is our given information. And so we're just going to take the slope 4 and we're going to plug it in right there for m. And then we're going to take, so this is going to be our x point and this is going to be our y point. These are the ones because we only have 1 point. So we're going to plug x point into here and we're going to plug the y point into here. All right, so let's change the color up real quick so you can see this. All right, so y minus y1. What was y1? Well, it's 5 equals m, which is 4, times x minus x1, which is 2. Okay, just plug into the formula. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do what we can do. We're going to solve what we can solve. Okay. And so, again, going back to our equations, how we work these formulas, you should know that we can distribute this 4. So we're going to have y minus 5 equals 4x minus 8. Now we can take this minus 5 and we can add 5 to both sides. All right, and so this is going to cancel. We're going to get y equals 4x. And then if I have a minus 8 and a plus 5, I'm going to have a minus 3. And now look, I'm back to what we call slope-intercept form. Now I have my formula. Now I can graph this. Now I can do whatever I need to do with this. So y equals mx plus b. That's our slope-intercept form. And that's what that gives us. There's our y, there's our m, there's our x, and there's our b. Okay? All right, let's do another one. So basically we have the same thing, and we're just going to plug it into the formula same as we did before. What's my formula? It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Plug in, and I have y minus 3, because this is my y value right over here, and then equals m is 2 times x minus 1 is minus minus 1. So that would just change this to a plus 1. Okay. All right, now I'm going to distribute this. Y minus 3 equals 2x plus 2. And then I will add 3 to both sides to get rid of this. So I'm now in my y-intercept form, or my slope-intercept form, and it's y equals 2x plus 5 would be your answer there. Okay? Y equals mx plus b. That's where we're going with this. That's what we want to see with these. Okay? Same thing, we're going to do it again, and if you're following along, this is on page 109, so you can look there at how they do it in the book, but we're basically doing the same thing here. So you should be writing these out, make sure that you're kind of following this process. All right, again, same formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So now we just plug into it. What's our y point? It's -2. So y minus minus gives us a plus 2 equals m. This time it is a fraction, okay? And it's a negative fraction. So -3/4 times x minus 8, okay? This one's a little bit trickier because now we have to do our distribution with a -3/4. Well, it's a little bit harder. It's not terrible. Let's follow along and see what happens. Okay, so if we're going to distribute here, we're going to get y plus 2 equals -3/4 times x is just -3/4 x. We can't do much there. Minus minus is going to give us a plus. And then we might have to come over here to the side to do that. So if we have a 3/4 times an 8, that would be 8/1. And cross cancel this. This gives us a 1, this gives us a 2. Multiply here, we get a 6/1, or just a 6. All right. And so now, remember, we did a negative negative, so we have a plus 6 right over here. All right. Now what? Now we just subtract 2 from both sides. So that's going to cancel. Y equals -3/4 x plus 6 minus 2 is plus 4. And that would be your answer there for that one. Okay. And again, I'm not sure that this is what I would consider hard. This is just the next level. This is just taking everything that we've done so far and kind of putting it into one thing. Maybe you're like, this is really hard. Well, you're probably not struggling with anything that we're doing new in this lesson. You're probably struggling with some of the other lessons, whether it's how to distribute, whether it's how to move things from one side to the other, whether it's how to, find slope, something like that. Okay. So let's keep working on those other things, and that will help us to do better as we continue building on what we've already learned. All right, look back in your book, page 109, equations from 2 given points. All right, so now they're going to give you two, instead of giving you a point and a slope, they're going to give you 2 points. Okay, so in other words, here's the question. Points 2, 1 and points 4, -5. Find this equation in slope-intercept form. Now, you might think, isn't there a different way we could do this? Yes, there is. We've already learned it. but they want us to do it using the slope-intercept form. It says right there, express the equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so some of these other ones that we've done, notice that we had a slope and a point. On this one, we only have 2 points. So my question to you is, so let's call this one point 1 and this one point 2, okay? So it doesn't matter which one's which. But can we find our slope? Can we find out what m equals from these two right here? Well, sure we can. We would use the slope formula, okay? And what is the slope formula? Slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or remember the change in y over the change in x. It's from a few lessons ago. You should remember that. If you don't, again, go back and review that lesson. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and find our slope. Let's just plug into this. So what is our y1 point? Well, they're right here. So our y1, excuse me, our y2 is negative 5 minus our y1, which is 1, over our x2 is 4 minus our x1 is 2. So this is going to equal, this is our slope right here. So we need this in order to solve the rest of it, okay? And so minus 5 minus 1. If I have negative 5, how do I do this? Well, remember I change the sign of the second and add, okay? So that's going to give me negative 6 over 4 minus 2 is 2. Negative 6 over 2 is going to give me, if I reduce that, it's going to give me negative 3. That's going to be my slope. So now that I have the negative 3, now I can go back in and I can use that information to plug into my point slope formula. All right, so what is that? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Please memorize that formula. It's a really important formula to memorize. So go ahead and just spend the time that you need to memorize that formula. All right, now let's just use point 1. We could use either one of these points, but let's just use point 1. So y minus y1 is 1 equals m, which is negative 3, times x minus x1, which is 2. Okay, now we just distribute, solve our equation here. Okay, distribute here. Y minus 1 equals negative 3x minus minus gives us a plus 6. Add 1 to both sides to clear the number off the side. Y equals negative 3x plus 7. And then that would be our answer. Okay. The book does give you one more thing to do, and that is on page 110. Basically, that now they just show you that you could also do it just with a graph. How would you do it with a graph? Well, first of all, you check the points, and then you find your slope from your points. We've done that before. That shouldn't be too much of a new thing, a new concept for you, but we would do that. And then once you find your slope, you just plug it into one of the points, and boom, you have your solution, okay? So, like I said at the beginning, not a ton of new information. It's like we kind of married about 3 different concepts together and said, okay, if we need this and we have this and we know how to find this, then we can plug into the point slope formula and we can get it to give us the y-intercept form. Okay, what could we do from the y-intercept form? Well, we could graph from that form. We could do whatever we want from that form. But again, this is just adding to the information that you already have. And so just new concepts, but using the old information that you have. Hopefully you were able to get some of that. If you missed anything, make sure to slide it back. But that's all I have for you. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.